Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Adventures of Malibu and Dad. Guys, today we're doing the Ghost Stop tours here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Hope you guys enjoy it. We're gonna have some fun. Hopefully maybe we'll even see a ghost or two. So come along guys as we check it out.
We're glad to share the places and the people that we'll meet. Think of the memories we'll have. Exploring hidden history, it's time to hop aboard on the road with Malibu and Dad. On the road with Malibu and Dad.
All right guys, so we're here at Ghost Stop in Lynchburg, Virginia. Show you some of the cool things they got here. I love their little room they got set up here, man. And this is their headquarters here. This tour's gonna get started here in a little bit. Just want to show you around real quick. All right, man. So when you come in, again, they got a really nice store, guys. Get all the t-shirts you like, and they've got some really cool ones, man. And part of what they do here, guys, is they sell their own ghost hunting equipment. And they've got it all. Check it out. They sell all this. You could be your own ghost hunter. Got REM pods here. Set these up. Put a REM pod in one of those teddy bears. Something for temperature fluctuations you can use. K2 meter for electric energy. And it's so many kits too, guys. If you want a full kit, and the prices are pretty reasonable.
Those who lived a fascinating, dreadful, or fascinatingly dreadful life here on Commerce Street in Lynchburg, and they may still walk among us today. On this tour, you can expect about 90 minutes in length and a mile-long walk. We will be not going up any stairs, just down a few. So if you have any accommodations that need to be met, please let him. He did most of his work on Ghost Hunters as the go-to equipment inventor. Who here has seen Ghost Hunters? Then you've probably seen him on a few episodes. He's very, very famous. I don't know if you noticed him today. But we wanted to show you guys that there is a way for you guys to do the investigation yourselves into the paranormal world and see if you can connect with the spirits. Now, most of the stuff you would see on TV shows, YouTube channels, any of that stuff, gets its start right here at Ghost Stop. It is very, very well respected in the paranormal community. And like I said, we want to give you guys the chance to investigate yourself. One of those really cool pieces of equipment is what I'm holding right here, known as the ovulus. Now the ovulus basically takes changes in its environment. Anything that it senses is changing around it. And it filters it into words. Words that spirits can use to let us know how they feel about something. Would anybody tonight like to hold the ovulus as we travel around? Any hands? Would you like to? Awesome. Here we go. So what you're going to do is if there's any words that correlate to the tour or anything that we're talking about, just raise your hand and let us know. Cool. He was also a man of high society. And most people quoted that he had the finger on the pulse of society at all times. He knew what they needed. He also seemed to bend time to his will and did what needed to be done. If we think about it, back then, Lynchburg was in not so great of a place. Consumption, tuberculosis, various flus overtook the populations, and Robert Struther was guilt-ridden. You see, most of the men and women that he grew up with had children. And when all of this hit Lynchburg, those children died. mother died. So what did he do? He tinkered away here as a pharmacist, trying to find drugs that would cure the population, that would help cure what was happening to all these people. So, he did. He provided the best of the best drugs. So you could come right into this building and buy yourself, let's see, mercury, cyanide, and even oil of tar. Tar like the road. You could even walk into rooms that no one could quite comprehend, had to fight their own brothers in a city just like this one. The horrors that the American military faced when they were trying to fight to end the overall sin that is chattel slavery. The feelings that must reside and impact a town just as this one. So, like I said, remember to take a glance into windows and you might see something there that you hadn't seen once before. Alrighty, when we go down this way, we're gonna go right over here, right before the street, guys, okay? All look right now. Well, it might be quiet for the residents inside, but there is actually an abundance of eerie activities that we have gotten from this loft right here alone. When Ghost Stop originally moved in, there was a lot of renovations to be done. So that means fixing the floors, fixing the walls, maybe changing some stuff around, a lot of things changing all at once. And a woman who lived in these lofts right here reported that her paranormal activity increased as soon as Ghost Stop moved in. Could this be that the ghosts are a little discontented with what's going on around them? There is a theory in the supernatural world that sometimes when a physical place that a ghost is once familiar with changes suddenly, they can be uncomfortable. It causes them to maybe show more activity, to show their disinterest with what is going on. However, after Ghost Stop completed its renovations, the paranormal activity in this apartment died down. So we like to think they like the vibe of the place. Maybe so. But other than this loft, which is a beautiful building, we're gonna look right here behind us to this parking garage. Tragedy struck. The local hardware store erupted in flames after a clerk dropped a fire rag onto an oil-soaked floor. The entire building was engulfed in flames in mere minutes. And not only did it take the hardware store, but it took the tailor shop, it took a tobacco factory, the Virginia building, and a couple of frame houses. Now, the original alarm came out on Main and 9th Street, so the local fire department was able to get here as fast as they could, but unfortunately there was not much they could do. With only 2 small streams of water, 5 brave souls entered the Virginia building trying to stop the flames, and tragedy struck. The main division wall collapsed on all 5 of them, and they lost their lives. It's said today that sometimes when you go down dark alleyways, just like this one, you might hear muffled screams. Could this be the souls of the firefighters that haven't yet departed? Well, unfortunately, not even after that event, tragedy struck again, but this time in the form of horror and fear. Fires. Not random fires, but fires that were selected to pop off by an unknown arsonist. Engulfed almost the entire city. Almost as if a relentless force was at work, this arsonist went around and set fire to tons of buildings here in downtown Lynchburg, one after another after another. So the fire department saw themselves racing against time, trying to get to these buildings, trying to get to these people still trapped inside. Couldn't really make it. And so not only did August or September bring around the end of these fires, but not until October did the arsonist stop. Many residents jump, only to disappear into the ground below. 1800s. Dubbed as something called that bewitching vegetable in the 18th century or so, tobacco loose leaf was the #1 export of Lynchburg. And in fact, it was so huge for Lynchburg's economical development that Lynchburg became the #1 distributor of loose leaf tobacco in the world in the 1800s. That's a lot of tobacco. However, the process, the cultivation, and the overall curing of tobacco itself was far from glamorous. In fact, it was back-breaking work, a ceaseless toil of the souls inside this building right here. They worked 12, 16-hour days, 6 days a week. In the blistering heat or the biting cold, it didn't matter. They were forced to work. Now, over time, disasters tend to happen. In 1898, the Imperial Tobacco Company opened buildings just like these all over, and this is one of 45 buildings in Lynchburg that contributed to the overall loose leaf export that was known here. There was one worker though. His name was Samuel. Samuel was a man of his craft. Yes, he had to work. Yes, he toiled away endlessly, just like all the other poor souls in there with him. But he had a passion. He loved making cigars. He would roll them up very finely. He did a good job. However, unfortunately, he met his demise right inside this building here. Some say when they're walking these streets at night right here in this parking lot itself, they have felt what is hands grabbing their feet, their own hands, their faces. Maybe it's the dead trying to wake the living, saying, "Get back to work. What are you doing?" Some even say they hear whispers or mummers coming through the wood and the brick buildings, that the workers are talking while they're toiling away. Some have also said that when they have gone into the abandoned building, there have been freshly rolled cigars sitting out for them, almost as if they're made by ghostly hands. All right, guys, welcome to the famous Craddock-Terry Shoe Company, or as locals like to call it, the Craddock-Terry Hotel. Now, before it was a hotel, this was one of the largest manufacturers of shoes in Virginia and the world. Craddock-Terry Shoe Company, in only 10 short years, made a lasting legacy on this town. How? Well, it was the 5th largest shoe company in the entire world. The entire world! In 1898, that is a big deal. Quick trivia, how many shoes a day, like how many pairs a day of shoes do you have to make to become the 5th largest business in the world? Any guesses?
Millions.
Billions? That's a big number. This is 1898, so we're
Maybe not.
500.
10,000.
10,000.
75.
75. It was actually 100,000 pairs a day, so we're kind of in there.
I was almost there.
But John W. Craddock, the owner and founder of this place right here, he had a hard time. Why? It was the 1890s. The Civil War had already passed. We are out of free labor. There was a huge shortage of it. And like most wealthy businessmen, Craddock did the best he could. And what is the easiest way and most awesome way of getting what you need in a business? Cutting corners. Come on, guys. Well, by cutting corners, Craddock did not hire able-bodied adults. No. None of that for him. He hired an army of 11 and 12-year-olds. That's right, 11 and 12-year-old children to work. And nowadays, you might be able to find photos of those children sitting outside smoking cigarettes on their work break. That's right guests and staff claim that they still have childlike spirits lingering, more specifically in the attic. The spirit of friendship, giggling, and playtime was lost. Across the way there, not to the left, but a little bit to the right, is the steeples to the building known as the Old Abandoned Training Center. Now, many locals will know that there is an old building abandoned over there, but many may not know what it used to be. Dubbed as the Virginia Colony for Epileptics and the Feeble-Minded, that place housed thousands of individuals who were poor and uneducated. Many of these individuals had defects or ailments that ranged from seizures to common mental illnesses, from alcoholism to promiscuity. And they all lived right across the river. And every day at the colony was known as the House of Horrors. Experimentation forced upon them, sterilization, all done under the Virginia law of eunuchs until the 1970s. People there had every day filled with pain and confusion until the 1970s. In fact, it was so bad that in 1933, when the Nazis came into power, they looked at the Virginia law of eunuchs to model their own human experimentation and racial purification practices off of. And when the Nuremberg trials came out, they used it as a defense, saying, hey, Virginia did it too. And I share this with you not only because it's a thing that we need to remember and keep in mind to have a more passionate world in the future, but because the horrors that were held in that building over there were not only local, but international. Nowadays, visitors and first responders use that building as a training space. And many have reported hearing whispers or the feeling of constantly being watched or trained.
So guys, during the tour, you go by all the eateries here on Commerce Street. And Bootleggers is one of the big ones. Make great burgers. As we go walking down, the tour is pretty fun so far. And we learned a little bit of history, which I really enjoy for the area.
Ambush the whole town and take over. And what do you do when all you walk around and see soldiers missing an arm, missing a leg, missing an eye, or all of the above? What to do? But they had a plan. For you see, the railroad, as you all know, comes right along this way and drops off right before the city. So, the battalion over the ridge came over the next day to scout out the best way to approach. And what did they see? 30 men. Okay, only 30 extra men. No, wait. An hour and a half later, there were 30 more men. Later, more men. 30, 60, 90. More and more and more. They said, no way can we ever hope to raid this city. They have too many reinforcements. We will never make it. So they didn't. But there's a secret. For those 30 men did not exist. Those 30 men were the best looking men in the city, the least affected by the war. And what did they do? They got on the train, rode the train around, hopped off the train, snuck back on the train, rode it around again, hopped off the train, snuck back on, rode around again, hopped off. You get the gist. They did this over and over to trick the enemy into thinking they were getting reinforcements by the hour, when in fact it was the same old 30 guys getting on and getting off. But what sold it, what sold the entire thing, was the women and children and families that stayed behind in the city. For when the 30 men got off the train, everyone cheered, everyone screamed and clapped, everyone was gleeful. We are saved, we are saved. How would you react if your Savior was coming? How would you scream? They did it over and over, day and night. They were there supporting, yelling, almost as if there was a parade in town. And that's what really sold it. So the battalion took off and the city was left alone. And so it's almost known as the Almost Hunters Raid. Right over that ridge, right there. So sometimes at night when walking this very street, you can hear gleeful cheers in the distance, clapping and cheering. Could it be that the families are still residually around, cheering on their brethren, uncle, brother, son, father, that we're doing this to save the entire city?